when I ask people to tell me, what is imposter syndrome and self-doubt? What does that sound like in your head? And some of the words that come up is, who am I? Who am I to write a book about that? Who am I to go after that leadership position? And I think that has a lot to do with identity and who we think we are. And I think if you can make a shift and say, who is the person that I need to be to step into this role? And how can I shift my beliefs about who I am to be able to move into the role, to be doing the things, taking on the projects, and going after my dreams because I believe I am that human being. And so I think sometimes doing big things in our life can have that effect on us.
Welcome to What's Possible, where leadership thrives. I'm Ilene Schaffer, and I'm glad you're here. Behind every powerhouse communicator and relationship builder is a strategic thinker who leads with curiosity. Because of that, we believe that your journey to becoming the best leader starts with you. Have you ever felt like an imposter? I'm guessing your answer is probably yes. Regardless of how much experience, education, or title, the imposter feeling is a pretty common experience. Leaders we coach often ask, how can they move past this feeling so it doesn't hold them back? Or even more importantly, how can they leverage the feeling to move forward? I am joined by Louisa Jewell from our SVC team. Louisa is a facilitator, keynote speaker, resilience expert, and the best-selling author of Wire Your Brain for Confidence, The Science of Conquering Self-Doubt. Louisa believes that building people's confidence is the key to building performance and a happy life. After embracing her own transformative mental health journey, she founded the Canadian Positive Psychology Association and began finding ways to bring positive psychology to the workplace. Her book teaches us how we can build self-efficacy and resilience to conquer self-doubt. And today, she's here to share why that could make us happier, not only at work, but also at home. I'm Ilene Schaffer, and let's find out what's possible. Louisa Jewell, I am so happy to have you joining me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Well, it's always fun having our coaches and leadership development people on the show. I get to hear all this good stuff from you, but it's fun to get to share it out. And we went back and forth on topics because you are so well versed in so many really important topics. And I'm super excited about the one that we landed on, which is confidence and imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And of course, you have not only do you speak about this all the time, but you also wrote, and I don't know if our listeners will get to also see a video, but Wire Your Brain for Confidence. So we will be talking about that in a bit. But before we get there, our listeners need to know, who are you?
Well, I am Louisa Jewell. No, but you know, I am a leadership coach and a well-being educator. So a lot of what I do is I work with leaders and teams within their organizations to teach them tools and strategies on how they can promote well-being in the workplace. And most of the time, a lot of those tools and strategies also lead to an increase in performance because people who are happier actually do better at work.
Yeah. Let's dial back real quickly and pull back the curtain. Who's Louisa Jewell underneath all that as just a human, and give our audience an idea of how did you land in this space? So, little
Right.
background.
Well, okay. I would say as Louisa Jewell, I am a bit of an adventurer and I have traveled around the world and I'd love to travel around the world. And I think that has given me such an incredible perspective on life.
Yeah.
But many, many years ago, about 25 years ago, I found myself in a very dark place. I
Mm.
was struggling with my mental health. I was going through a really hard time. I had just started my business, which I thought, oh, great, I'm going to do what I love and make lots of money doing it. And that's not what happened. When you start a business, you have to do everything. You have to bring in the clients and you have to deliver and create all the content and also do the bookkeeping and take out the garbage. And but then on top of that, I suffered a miscarriage,
Mm.
and that was pretty devastating. And I was super
Yeah.
excited about my having another child, and it didn't happen. And then I had another miscarriage, and then another. And after the fourth miscarriage, I just said, I'm not doing well. I've just got too much. The business is a lot, my personal life. So I went to see a counselor because I thought I'm struggling. I need help. And I went to see a counselor, and I could tell he was reframing my thoughts.
Mm.
And I said, I can't keep running back to you every time something goes wrong. I mean, this has been really helpful, but I need to know these strategies for myself so that I can keep myself psychologically healthy. And because I knew there was some sort of formula that he was working with. And
Yeah.
so he gave me a few books, and that's when I discovered the work of Dr. Martin Seligman. And
Mm.
that's when I discovered that there actually is a scientific study of psychological well being, and it's known as positive psychology. And I was stunned because I had been working with organizations for many, many years and had never heard about this concept and this idea that there are things you could do to improve your mental health. So I applied, I got in, I read about 6,000 pages of research, and I applied everything I learned to myself, and
Wow.
my life transformed. Just completely transformed. I became a better mother, a better wife, a better neighbor, and I started exercising every morning. I just learned so much about how to take care of my mental health. That year, I doubled the revenue in my business.
Wow.
And I just knew that this was going to be the central part of my work. And so a few years later, I founded the Canadian Positive Psychology Association, and we brought researchers in from all over the world and practitioners to share the latest knowledge in positive psychology and psychological well-being and neuroscience to understand how we can stay on the forefront of helping people, especially people in organizations. I love to focus on people at work because we spend so much time at work. How can we
Yeah.
take these concepts and move it into a work setting, but make it practical to know that leaders are also interested in performance and productivity? So, how do we translate that research and cherry pick the research and the applications to apply readily within the workplace? And there's so many strategies that apply in the workplace, and there's so much research now to show the correlation between what we're seeing in the workplace, what we're doing in the workplace, and better business performance. So it's really working.
Yeah. Wow. I love hearing your path, and particularly I think in life's dark moments is when you were even able to kind of open a window, just even a crack, to get help, and then to have that mental capacity to even be curious and think, wait a second, there's something here, and how do I learn this and make it useful for myself on an ongoing sustainable basis? But then take it one
Exactly.
step further, how can I help others grow and learn and live better lives? Really
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank
Well,
you
I
for
think when
sharing
you
that.
have Oh, no, I'm happy to share that story, but I think when you have such a transformation, I mean, for me, it was such an incredible gift in my life because when you're somebody I came from parents who were depressed all the time, and so that was my model. And so when you live that way, you kind of feel hopeless.
Yeah.
And so to find out, oh, wait, there's a lot of hope here. There's
Yeah.
a lot of, when it makes you so hopeful, I'm like, I have to tell everybody.
Yeah.
I have to tell everyone about this.
Yeah, without question. I'm curious, which now I'm using the word curious, but I'm assuming your one of your top strengths is curiosity.
You know what? It doesn't come up as one of my top 5 in the
Really?
VIA, no, but it is definitely something, and perhaps maybe if I took the VIA now, it might be different. But it is definitely, I'm definitely curious. I love to ask questions, and that's why I travel all over the world because I am very curious. I'll see a picture. I had a picture come up on my wallpaper one day on my television set, and I saw this place and I thought, well, I have to go there. And I got curious and I found out where it was and I ended up flying there and I took a trek to make it there and I was in the same place seeing the exact same thing. And I think curiosity is such a great thing. And we know from the research as well that curiosity really contributes to well-being. So it's I think it's a great tool. I call it a tool because I think curiosity
Yeah.
just makes my life incredible.
Yeah. One thing for our listeners, if you're thinking, what is this VIA? So, the VIA is a character strengths assessment. It is a tool or it is an assessment that is no charge. We actually do it with all of our clients right out of the gate so that we can help them leverage their strengths to be more productive, happier, engaged, all these things at work and in home. So it's an assessment that really bridges. It's not just for one domain of life, it's for all of life. And it's looking at your character strengths. So it's not your skill set or your talents. It's who you are as a person and how you show up in the world. It's a beautiful assessment. You can go directly to viacharacter.org to take the assessment at no charge, or authentichappiness.org to also take the assessment at no charge. And then if you'd like a detailed report, you can go ahead and pay for that. But we highly recommend it just because knowing what these top character strengths are can really take your life and your engagement and your enjoyment to a whole nother level. So that's what Louisa and I are talking about right now. So speaking of curiosity, how did you get curious about confidence? Curious enough to actually write a book?
Well, when I did my master's degree, I learned about the research and study of self-efficacy. It was Albert Bandura's work, Dr. Albert Bandura at Stanford, and I couldn't believe that there was actually a formula for increasing confidence because I had a lot of confidence. I did a lot of things. I would go out. I wasn't afraid to do things, but I had so much self-doubt that there was always questioning, always anxiety. I was never enough. If something would happen, I would think, "Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world."
Mm,
I would spend 50 hours, working on something that, I had done 15 times. And I thought, why do I have all of this anxiety and stress? I did not want to be stressed out while I was
yeah.
doing this work. I wanted to be joyful while I did this work. And when I discovered Dr. Albert Bandura's formula around self efficacy and what we can do, and self efficacy is the belief that you can be successful at any given task or in a certain domain. It is not whether you have the ability, whether you have the skills. It's do you believe that you have the skills and ability to be successful? And when I discovered that, I thought this is really interesting. And the people who are helping me write my book said, pick your favorite topic in positive psychology and write about that. And I thought, okay, I'm going to write about confidence then, confidence building.
Yeah. Well, and I really love that about self-efficacy because it's that belief, like you said, the belief that you can be capable. And I think that's where we often lose that, and we can easily look at other people and think well, it's just that they are successful. They're just kind of born that way. And most people are not born that way. It's years and years of building that skill set, and also believing that they have that ability to build that skill set, the confidence in what they
Exactly.
can do.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so this is why imposter syndrome can be problematic because, um, imposter syndrome, and I just took this definition off, from the dictionary. So it's the persistent inability to believe that one's own success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. So what happens is you can go out and successfully do something, but then you don't believe that you had anything to do with that success, that what you contributed to that success was not related to your actions or your skill set or your strengths. So if you are perpetually living this way, you will never change because self efficacy is about our beliefs. You will never change your beliefs and about your abilities. And so what happens is, because one of the best ways to improve increase self-efficacy and increase confidence, I always say competence breeds confidence. So, some of the
Hmm.
best ways to improve your confidence is to go out and successfully do it. And you say, I did it, I can do it again. And then you go out and you do it again even better. And you say, I did it even better, I can do it again even better. And that's the best way to build confidence. But if you're after every time you successfully do it, you say, oh, it wasn't me. It was really Eileen. Oh, yeah, no, it was Eileen that was just so enthusiastic about it, but it no, really, and if I'm constantly giving it away
Hmm.
to other
Yeah.
people or other circumstances, then I never build that belief in myself, and that is the most important part if you want to stop feeling like an imposter.
One of the sayings that drives me crazy is when people say, fake it till you make it. To me,
Mm,
as a coach, if I was telling a client to fake it till they make it, in my mind, it breeds imposter syndrome because you are a fake.
mm,
And
yeah.
instead, I say practice till you got it because it's about
Oh,
building
yes.
the competence. It's building that belief that I actually can be successful and then owning it, but it requires practice and you will get it. So you don't have to have it and live with this mask on as if you are owning something you don't believe you have
Yes.
by faking it.
Yeah.
I think we need to get rid of that saying. Curious what your thoughts are.
I would agree because you are saying I'm faking it. But here's the thing. When you say fake it till you make it, you almost give people permission to go and do it, even if they're going to fake it. You see what I mean? So it's almost like asking for a miracle. You say, well, if it's a miracle, then I guess, it can happen. But so I think that language may allow people to move into action a little bit easier. But you are 100% correct that if somebody is going into something thinking that they're faking it, then you're right, they're never going to change the belief about it. And you are absolutely right. Practice it until you get it. And here's the thing. So what I say to people, because a lot of people say, okay, yeah, thanks for telling me to go practice, but I'm afraid to practice because I don't have the confidence. And so people think, and I ask people, what's stopping you from doing that? They say fear of failure. And it's really not fear of failure. When I delved into the research on self-doubt, it was not fear of failure. Do you know what it is? It's fear of social evaluation.
Mm,
Because if you asked me to go do something and I was on a desert island and no one was going to see me, I wouldn't care. I would try a million things and I wouldn't care.
yeah.
But when you tell me now that I have to go do this thing in front of my peers, in front of people around the boardroom, in front of my boss, in front of family and friends, that's a bit scarier for us. So people say, I don't want to go and do that because I'm afraid I'm going to look bad. I'm going to fail and I'm going to look bad in front of people. So I always say with the practice piece, well, do a tiny step.
Hmm.
Like, break it down. So if it's something really big, I'm working with someone right now who's setting some really high level goals for me, and I just don't believe that that goal is achievable. And if I don't believe the goal is achievable, I'm not going to move towards it.
Yeah.
So give me a goal that I can actually believe, and I can say, okay, well, I don't know how to write a book. Huh, that's scary. Maybe I can write a chapter. Oh, that's kind of scary. Can you write a blog post? Yeah, I can do a blog post. That's a great first writing step. And you maybe do a few blog posts and then you start feeling good and you're getting good comments on your blog and it grows, your confidence grows, and then you say, I'm ready for the chapter now. And that's a great way if you want to start practicing until you get it. Think of the baby steps to get
Yeah.
there and start with that first.
Yeah. Kelly Beischel on our team, we did a webinar quite a while ago, and she talked about tiny turtle steps. And I
Oh,
love that. What's the tiniest turtle step you can do to
yeah,
start to build your confidence?
exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a great strategy.
Yeah. I'm curious where you see imposter syndrome coming up for some of your clients.
Well, time and time again, self doubt can stop people from moving forward. So I'll give you a story that I was just talking to a colleague of mine the other day, and he's a career coach. And he said there was a woman who, highly successful woman, highly accomplished, was looking for a new job and didn't want to apply to this one job. And he said, You're perfect. You're perfect for this job. And she just didn't believe it. And he really encouraged her to apply. And so she applied and she got the job. And he said, Wow, like, congratulations. And she said, Well, I don't know what I'm going to do because I really don't think I can do this job. And he, like, it was just, you throw your hands up and he said, I want you to go back and read your resume and we're going to read it together.
Mm.
But she was really highly convinced
Yeah.
that despite the fact that she was highly accomplished, she still did not have that belief. And I think we really need to have coaches and we really need to have people around us who can remind us and say, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Like,
Mhm.
let's turn this around and get yourself in a space where you actually believe that what you've done is your work and that you can do things.
Yeah. And it goes back to when we think about anxiety, some of those thoughts that are not grounded in evidence that might be irrational thoughts. This can go along that same path and having evidence
Absolutely.
to counter that mind chatter that we have.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think too that there are certain events also, because I think it has to do with identity as well. Who do we believe we are? Because, sometimes when I ask people to tell me what is self doubt, what is imposter syndrome and self doubt, what does that sound like in your head? And some of the words that come up is, who am I? Who
Mm,
am I to write a book about that? Who am I to go after that leadership position? And I think that has a lot to do with identity and who we think we are. And I think if you can make a shift and say, who is the person that I need to be to step into
mhm.
this role? And how can I shift my beliefs about who I am to be able to move into the role, to be doing the things, taking on the projects and going after my dreams because I believe I am that human being. And so I think sometimes doing big things in our life can have that effect on us. I remember the first time I organized a conference for the Canadian Positive Psychology Association. I'd never organized a conference in my life. They wanted to do concurrent sessions, so we had people traveling in from all over the world. The conference turned out to be the most incredible experience. People were coming up to me afterwards saying how that was the best conference I've ever been to. I'm shocked because I've never run a conference in my life. And I remember after that conference feeling like a different person.
Wow.
I am a different person after doing that conference. I really received and accepted my role in that success. And it was successful because there were myself, but lots of other people around me who made that conference and many other conferences very successful. We've got great teams at CPPA. But I remember feeling different
What allowed you to lean into that and accept?
after the fact.
Yeah.
Um,
And just that shift in identity around that.
Perhaps maybe because I had read Albert Bandura's research and knew that it was really important for me to sit down and celebrate wins. And that's something I do all the time
Mm,
in my organizational consulting and my leadership coaching is to always ask, what are the wins?
mm,
Because I think it's important to know to keep reminding yourself, oh right, I did that. And we forget, we're especially for high accomplishing people that are just accomplishing, accomplishing, accomplishing. And it's really important to always take a moment and say, how did I do that? How can I do it again? And to say, yeah, I did that. Yeah, that was
yeah.
me. And there were lots of people who made this happen, but me too.
Yeah, I was one of
I
them.
had,
Right, yeah,
yeah, I had a role and I had a leadership role in that, you
yeah.
know? And I think that's really, really important.
It's interesting. One of my classmates this weekend was asking me about imposter syndrome and do I, at times feel imposter syndrome? And I said, one thing that I do, and I think it keeps me out of staying in that feeling, is if I start to feel uncomfortable, I'll ask myself, what do I need? And that's a question that I do all the time. So if I'm feeling like I'm out of my lane or out of my scope, what do I need? So that might look like, okay, I need more education on this. I need to consult with some of my colleagues. I need to refer out, whatever that looks like, because it might be a lane that I don't want to be in. It's not my lane and somebody else is better than I am at it. And it's okay to refer out. But I don't like to stick in that place of I'm not capable because I know I have the ability to be capable. So that's why I asked that question. And I'm curious, do you have something that you ask yourself as a cue?
I say, what do I need to believe? Well, first of all,
Mm,
I love your question. What do I need? Because I think that's great. And that's always takes you to the next level. So I love that question. But I say, what do I need to believe right now
Oh, I like
to,
that.
yeah, to step into this role? And so then what I'll do is I'll draw it out. So I'll put what is stopping me. And then in the center of, I sort of make this flower diagram, but in the center, I'll write, what do I need to believe for me to move forward and do these things? Like say I'm stopping myself from doing these things 'cause I don't believe in myself. And so I'll write out, I'll say, well, I need to believe that these people are going to say yes. For example, I did this when I was thinking about the endorsements for my book. And I thought, well, and in my mind, I knew I had to move forward and ask for the endorsements. It was time. My publisher was saying it's time to get the endorsements, but I was afraid. I was afraid they were all going to say no. And so I thought, well, what I really need to believe is that all these people are going to say yes. All these people are going to be on board. So instead of thinking about being rejected, I just started to believe, yeah, they're all going to come on board. And once I had that belief, then what I did was I took all the evidence I had to support that belief. So it wasn't just a fake belief. I needed to collect the evidence to
Mm.
support that belief. And on the petals, I just wrote, well, this person said if you write a book that they'd endorse it. So what's wrong with you? What's wrong with this picture? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right. That's right. He said that the last time I saw him. And so did she. And this person, I think he knows my work. He's gonna say yes. And I went around, and once I kind of put all the evidence together, I thought I can really believe that. And I went ahead and asked everyone for the endorsements, and I got them all. There's one person who I did not know very well, and she did not endorse, but every other person I asked said yes.
Ah, that's
So
beautiful.
yeah, so that's and I think that it is also good to say, um, I am, I have self doubt right now, and rightly so. I'm not ready yet. So that's why I really like your
Yeah,
question, what do I need? Because I think self doubt is a good thing. It's not good if it's chronic, but
right.
it's good if you're going to do something to really ask yourself, do I have the skill set to do
Yeah,
this? Will I show up the way I want to show up? And maybe the answer is no. And so
right.
I love your question to say, what do I need? Well, let me ask a colleague. I love that. I think that's really great.
Well, and it's so interesting. Our questions are so similar, but so different. What do I need to believe is quite different than what do I need? So, those are two great questions for our listeners. So, as we start to wrap up, we're going to have another action for you listeners. So, don't worry that we will come to that. What do you hope is a big takeaway for people who are tuning in today?
Well, I think for people who are working, who are leaders and HR managers or just managers in an organization, I think building people's confidence is a great way to build performance. And one
Mm,
of the best ways to do that is to adopt more of a coaching style in leadership. And I think that is something that is super important, because if we're always just, telling people what to do, as opposed to coaching them to learn and to become confident in what they can do at work, I think it's just such a great framework for performance. And I'll tell you a story. I was working with a sales team, and there was a general manager of this organization, and then the sales manager, and then all the salespeople. And one day, the sales manager quit, and the general manager had all these salespeople coming in asking him for, to solve the problems that they were having. And so he said, "Stop, hold on. Here's what we're going to do. When you come in, I want you to tell me what you think you're going to do. I want you to have three different solutions of what you think you can do to solve this problem. And then I will share with you, what I think, and we can brainstorm what, the real answer is." And so people started to do that. And one by one, they would come in, they do the three guesses of what they would do, and then they would brainstorm an answer. And after a while, he had nobody coming into his office anymore because they realized, I can figure this out and it's
I'm
okay.
capable.
I'm
Yeah,
capable. And so you can imagine how productivity went up, because people were not hesitating to do what they thought was right because they believed in themselves.
yeah,
I think when you do that, you do two things. First of all, you help someone learn how to problem solve. But number two, you increase their confidence that they can figure it out.
yeah,
And that is what reduces stress and anxiety and improves productivity and performance, because people just go and do it because they're confident that they can figure it out.
yeah. And for any parents out there, great tool for parenting too.
Yeah, I tell parents that all the time. Don't always be solving your kids' problems.
They need to believe that they are capable. One mindset shift.
Well, again, that coaching mindset, I think, ask
Yeah,
instead of tell, ask powerful questions. I think
perfect.
that is a great mind shift.
One easy action, which again is asking questions like a coach, but what's a different easy action that someone can take? Let's say a listener is dealing with, lack of confidence, feeling like an imposter. What's one action they might be able to take?
Well, I think it goes back to your idea around practice.
Mhm.
See if there's more practice you can do because, again, competence breeds confidence. And I think
Yeah.
that's the best way. But if you're still struggling, I think it's find a mentor or a coach or somebody
Mm,
because we need that social support. We need that we need people who can encourage us. And so you want to go to those people that you know are going to help you improve and get better and not necessarily do it for you, but help you and encourage you as you're off doing it. And so that's a really important thing. Find your tribe.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Find your tribe. What is possible when we do wire our brains for confidence?
I think flourishing and thriving
Mm,
because the number one regret of the dying on, people on their deathbeds is they didn't do the things that they wanted to do. They regret. It's not the things they
mhm.
did that they regret. It's the things they never went after. They didn't ask that love of their life out on a date. They
Yeah.
didn't go on that big trip to Italy. They didn't write that book. They didn't do things that were dreams of theirs. And I think if we can remove those barriers for people, then they will go and live the life or even having the confidence to stand up to somebody who's abusing you or to stand up to somebody who is abusing somebody else. um, that all takes confidence and courage to do that. And so when we can live the life we want to live and live authentically and live aligned with our values and who we believe we are, then I think that is the most beautiful gift that confidence can give us.
Wow. That's a big what's possible. So, for those listeners who want two little extra nuggets, one is what is your most favorite morning ritual that gets your day started on the right foot?
I have to say exercise. I don't know if
Mm.
that counts as a ritual, but
Yes.
when I am not exercising, it's not great. And I just find that I need to do exercise in the morning to feel great all day. That's really important for me.
Yeah, no, that's a great ritual, and there's so much research behind that too. For people interested, Spark is a wonderful book to read by John Rady. It talks about the kind of mind body power of movement connection. I just did a presentation in my class, not on my research, but on somebody else's research on giving your ideas some legs. And it talks about how movement impacts our creative thinking. So you are doing something that obviously allows you to be even better in your day to day life once you start your morning that way. And last thing, what is a favorite book that you've read recently or are currently reading?
Well, a book that I'm currently reading right now is called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. So I just found that the pandemic really caused a lot of disruption in my business and for a lot of people. And I felt like I was had a little bit too much stress
Mm,
trying to figure everything out. And so I just thought, I think I need a little bit more surrender right now to
ah.
kind of just allow the universe to bring to me what I need to be accepting right now without always feeling that I have to control everything.
Oh, that's beautiful. I am very curious about that book. Thank you so much, Louisa. I love our time together.
I love our time
Mhm.
together too, Eileen. Thank you so much. This was great.
This podcast is a catalyst for your leadership and well being journey. To step deeper into exceptional leadership, Visit svchange.com for personalized support that will take you to the next level. If you find this show meaningful, please hit that follow or subscribe button. It helps more people find what's possible organically. If you have questions about anything we've talked about, please drop me a line at podcast@svchange.com. I read every email I get, whether that's an episode idea, a guest recommendation, or just a simple note about how the show has impacted you. I'd love to hear from you. I'm Ilene Schaffer. Thanks for listening. What's Possible is produced by the team at Palm Tree Pod Co. The executive producer is Anthony Palmer. Thanks to Emily Miles and Caitlin Krings for video and digital support. The content for this podcast is created by Ilene Schaffer and the team at Silicon Valley Change.